According to the Pew Research study that just came out recently, American women have one of the highest rates of childlessness in the world. And why do you think that is, Dr. Hawkins?
I suspect that the primary force behind that is later marriage. In the United States and across much of the developed world these days, women are marrying much later. So the question is, what's driving later marriage? And there are some primary kinds of things that way. Certainly the desire to get more education, career opportunities, those kinds of things. And some changing attitudes about the acceptance of later marriage and those kinds of things are probably what's behind most of this trend.
Do you think there's an element of choice in a woman deciding, even if she does get married within childbearing years, that she says, I'm not going to have children. I make that choice consciously now?
There is certainly some of that, though here in the United States, there's still very positive attitudes towards families, towards marriage, towards children, wanting to have children. There's certainly some choice in the number of children, but I suspect the strongest reason behind declining fertility rates is that women are marrying at later ages and fertility declines after, about the age of 30. And so the ability to get pregnant and to conceive a child is it's more challenging. And so it's not just a matter of choice. There are these biological elements that are involved as well.
Do you think that the increase of our digital world and technology and that kind of drive has had any effect on the want to not have as many children?
Well, that's an interesting question. I don't think there's any doubt that this information age that we live in, this glut of information constantly available to us, is impacting the way we live our lives. But I don't sense any direct connection between that information age and the choices and the opportunities for having children. And I can certainly imagine some possibilities, some indirect possibilities. I mean, certainly one thing we know is that the fertility rate has declined the greatest among well-educated women in the United States. Their fertility rates for those who are college graduates, I think, are down closer to one child per woman. But among less educated women, high school graduates or less, they're still well above replacement rates of 2 children per woman. And so maybe there's a correlation there to some extent. If more educated women are living more in this information glut. But I think it's a fairly indirect connection.
Do you think there are any other factors that would lead educated women to have less children?
Well, again, number one is they will marry at later ages. Late 20s, early 30s would be very typical for a well-educated woman. There is certainly the possibility also that some of her work plans and career plans would interfere with some choices. And so that's a possibility as well. And I would guess those would be the two significant things that perhaps educated women would face those choices more.
If you walked past Marlis Flaidland at the grocery store, you probably wouldn't think there was anything unusual about her. She dresses nicely. Her graying hair is cropped short and styled well. She's got sort of a rustic charm that extends to the log cabin look of her Utah home, where shelves are lined with folksy knickknacks. Hi, are you Marlis?
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Maddie. But take a closer look at those knickknacks.
Well, this is part of my collection, not all. And mostly I have over here is hair jewelry,
That's right, hair jewelry. As in jewelry made of hair. Marlis Flaidlin collects and sells it on her website, hairwork.com.
So this is all human hair,
Yeah,
all of this.
This is all hair. Well, I suppose my favorite piece is the bonnet.
Oh my goodness.
This is a bonnet of human hair.
It is so intricate and thin.
And the artwork hasn't changed much. Even in the 17 and 1800s, people did art. This was a form of art, I'm sure, that some lady decided to make. Hair is delicate, but it will last forever. Mm-hmm. And do you know that hairs still grow in the grave? And I know it's strange, but I guess I like strange things. I used to say I'm the lady that collects dead people's hair.
Oh no.
Because these watch fobs and other pieces that I have are actually from the 1800s, and these people obviously have passed away, so I have a big collection of dead people's hair. And it's very interesting because when I first got interested in the art was when my mother had passed away. And she had some old antique jewelry, and it was not anything to do with hair work, but I bought a book, and I was trying to see if her jewelry was worth anything. And I saw this bracelet in this book, and it said hair bracelet, and I think, hair bracelet, what's that? And I just got so interested in it. And like I said, that was during the time that we had no internet, so my friend actually sent over to me an article out of a magazine called Piecework, and it had a whole article about this profession, this hair work, making jewelry and things out of hair. So I contacted the author, and I got a hold of her, and she got a hold of somebody else, and pretty soon we formed a whole society of hair workers and collectors. When we had a couple years, we did conventions, and we did a lot of things, and that's just basically how it all began. It was just totally a fluke when I found it in a book. But it you get on I guess a track in some way you can call it, and you just keep going until you find out as much information as you need, and that's what I did with hair work.
She has hairpins, wall hangings, rings, and necklaces, even a wreath woven from the hair of every member of a family, including their horses.
Yeah, it's some probably back in the 1800s. They had a big family, and they just utilized all their hair and wanted to do something, and we call it heirlooms.
Talking about when this hair art started in the Victorian era, there was this idea of hair being equated with a memento of love. What has made us equate hair with more of fingernail clippings and not this wonderful, precious thing, but more of this thing just to be thrown away and kind of looked down on? What changed?
My personal opinion would be our lifestyle, how we have lost ourselves into the world, and somehow we have not thought of love in the same way. I know in those days women were at home, they were working, they were doing hair work, they were mending, and it was a different time. And now it's like, why would anyone want to utilize their hair for anything? And my job is to explain to them that is love. There is love involved. I mean, when my mother passed away, I didn't have a clipping of her hair, and after she passed away, I find this art. And I thought, oh, if I only had something special, because when you love someone so much and they're gone, you don't really want a clipping of their fingernails, but you've touched their hair. You've hugged them, you've smelled it, and to have that is really special. And you can do so much with just a little lock of hair. Put a lock of hair to your loved one, write a little note, put a little ribbon on it, send it in the mail. They'd probably go, oh, how sweet.
That's so interesting. It's so different from now, but the sentiments behind what they're doing are exactly the same. Today we have the internet and smartphones, so we're more likely to send a text or snap a selfie to show someone we're thinking of them. If you lived in the Victorian age, you'd have sent the same message with a handwritten letter and a lock of hair. And Marlis Flaidlin certainly wouldn't mind if some of those old-fashioned ways came back in vogue.
So this is the main entryway. Jean, in the past few years, with the recession and everything, we've heard a lot about libraries shutting down, libraries cutting staff. Tell us a little bit about how your library has dealt with that.
Sure. The idea of the economy having an impact on particularly public libraries, I'll speak to that, over the past 3 or 4 years is very, very real. I've seen colleagues across the country who are just really struggling with this and grappling with it. We're not immune from that. We've felt the same type of things. And so we've been able to largely weather the storm. We've had a little bit of cutbacks every year, just a little bit here and there, and it's impacted everything that we've done. One of the things that some libraries like us, one of the ways to handle that is we have about 90 staff here now, approximately, and which is a good-sized staff. But when you take a look at the fact we have about 20 full-time, the rest are all part-time, and so we have gone to a couple times in the past 5 years as a full-time staff member has left. We've said, okay, here's an opportunity for us to say, can we do that job in a different sort of way? Can we handle it differently? The benefits, retirements, are killing small businesses. They really are. And libraries are no different. And so we've done that a couple of times. Of course, we're seeing on a general large scope, we saw book money, book budgets, as far as the list cost of books, kind of remain stable for a bit, but we've seen them starting to go back up. So we have seen our expenses continue to increase in every aspect, yet our dollars are about stagnant. They're staying the same, which means we're losing ground every year. And so one of the big challenges that a smaller library like ours, that as we've seen a lot of the new technologies come on, how much can you afford? And one of the questions that every library director is asking themselves too is we need to continue to find a balance between the books, those who want the printed word in a book form, those that are really embracing the new technologies, and trying to somehow balance those out so you're keeping everybody at least partially happy. A huge, huge challenge.
I've noticed there are lots of computers around here. Can we go look at some of the computers and you can tell me about the technology?
You betcha, you betcha. Well, you know, here's a great, I think, a great look of the balance that we're trying to strike. Is as you walk in, of course, it's still a library from our perspective. A lot of people still check out a lot of books, but then we also have about 100 computers that are available to the public between this floor, the second floor above us, and the children's. And you can see here it is that every computer is used. And so they're accessing for a variety of purposes, a variety of reasons, and you'll see this most of the day. They are just booked constantly. We do have wireless here, so probably some folks back here are accessing our wireless programs and the things they can access here. And we also, you know, what you don't see are those things we have electronically, like the e-book. Mm-hmm. And so just a couple of interesting figures for you. In 2009, which is really only just a couple of years ago, we had 48 checkouts of e-books. It was just peeking over the horizon. Well, today, this past year, we had almost 34,000. So things have changed.
Dramatic increase.
And in this now are the downloadable audiobooks. People love audiobooks. Mm-hmm. And so we had last year almost 20,000.
That's just in this library.
That's just this library.
Oh my goodness.
It's really so complicated. Publishers are really involved with this, and there's only so much a public library can do if a publisher does not want to release a book on an ebook. If they say, well, we will only give you 24 checkouts of this ebook, then it vanishes and you have to rebuy the book again. And so those are a lot of interesting questions. It's a huge transitional time right now. And I think everybody is trying to figure out, okay, where are we going from here? What does the future mean? What does it do to the publishing industry? What does it do to authors? Who's losing rights? Who's making money? Who's not making money? What does it then do to the public libraries? And I think everybody's just trying to figure out where their niche is in this new developing world.